Hey everybody, welcome to Embroidery Sundays. Today I'm going to show you how to embroider on a fleece blanket. I also have a tip for a really nice inexpensive fleece throw or blanket you can get on Amazon. This Bedsure Get Cozy blanket is really nice. It's got a nice hemmed edge and it's very soft and cozy. So if you're looking for a recommendation for a fleece throw or blanket, these are really nice. I am making them for the senior gifts for the Eastern Connecticut State Volleyball senior gifts, and I thought it would be kind of cool to show you how you can get your embroidery designs to sit on a fabric that has a very deep nap and look nice and crisp. So the first thing is, I'll just open this up to show you. I was kind of impressed. They came in actual boxes. So like if you're doing this as a gift, you can put it back in the box and wrap it up. So I just thought this was kind of a nice packaging. And then I was struggling to get this out of the bag, but then I realized if you just push it out like this from the bottom, they come out really easily. So it was almost like you're squeezing it like popping fresh dough or something, I don't know. But basically, here's what the blankets look like. And you can see it's just a really nice, soft, cozy blanket. The first thing you want to make sure is, if you're going to be embroidering like a monogram, makes a really nice gift, or a logo, or some sort of detail in one of the corners, the first important thing is make sure you pick a corner that doesn't have the tag on it, because that's just nicer. So the first thing I do is look for the tags. So here we have the tag, and actually I'm going to cut off this bigger tag just so it's not, you know, it's kind of an eyesore. So if you're doing this as a gift, if you want to, you know, throw that away, you can. And so I know I don't want to embroider on this corner, so I'm actually going to find the opposite corner over here, and this will be the corner that I'm going to embroider in. And the next thing you want to be sure you're doing is you want to be sure you're embroidering on the right side of the blanket. I know this seems like an obvious thing, but I did a collection of hem-stitched linen napkins for a wedding gift. They were monogrammed, and I was monogramming them in the corner, and I was being super careful, and I actually monogrammed one of them on the wrong side, so I ended up having to buy another one so I could replace it. So, you know, just make sure you're on the right side of the fabric or the right side of the blanket when you're planning the position of your design. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to mark the blanket to get an accurate position in a corner. So it's basically going to be on the diagonal in the corner. If you have one of these quilting rulers, these squares, these are the best thing to use to easily mark the guidelines to place your design in the corner. And let me show you why. So the first thing is I am going to find the edge that doesn't have the extra ½ inch. So you can see this one has a ½ inch here and a ½ inch here. So I'm going to be using this corner here so I can start with inches. And the first guideline that's really important to establish is the middle of the design. Now, because we're working in the corner of, you know, on the corner, and it's going to be kitty corner basically, we have to do the 45° or the bias grain from the corner out. That's the middle of the design. So an easy way, if you have one of these rulers, is to line up your edges and point so that the corner of the blanket is in a square and the edges are lining up along whatever inch mark you'd like. So for example, I've already done a few of these. I have to make 5 of them. So I want the design to be up here, and I know that my design has lettering that goes across, and it's, you know, it's pretty long. It's not the full 8 inches of the hoop I'm using, but it's probably 6 inches or 7 inches. So I want to make sure I have enough room for the lettering and the design to be in the corner without being near the actual border. So for me, I'm going to go with a 10-inch square. So I've lined up my diagonal line from the point out, and I lined up the edges of the blanket so that they're lining right up with that 10-inch mark in both sides. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do after I get that established is I'm going to use a chalk liner, and I'm just going to draw a little yellow mark at the tip of the square. Then I'm going to use the side of the square as a ruler, and I'm going to draw my center guideline. Okay, so there's my center guideline. Now the next thing I'm going to draw, I'm not going to draw a traditional crosshairs or plus sign as a guide. I'm going to draw a horizontal line that's going to be the base of the embroidery. So I previously decided that I was going to start 7 inches from the actual corner. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my ruler so that the 7-inch line, or so that it extends 7 inches from the point out. And again, I'm going to be looking at my ruler here, and I want to make sure that now the edges of the blanket are hitting the squares on my grid in the corners. Okay, so you can see it's going from corner to corner to corner to corner to corner. So now the edges are on the bias, and I can keep track of that in the corners. And it's from the point to the top edge of the ruler is 7 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then I'm going to draw myself a horizontal guideline like this. All right, so now you can see what I have here is I'm going to put this fleece blanket corner so that this horizontal line is lined up with the edge of my hoop, or where I'd want the edge of my design to be, because this particular design fills up the whole hoop. It's an 8-inch square design. So I've got this right here. I've got my vertical center line. My blanket is now ready to hoop. So I'm going to put that away for a second, and I'm going to show you what we're going to use to embroider the fleece blanket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a washaway mesh stabilizer in the hoop, and this is OESD's Aqua Mesh. So basically it looks like it's a, you know, non-woven interfacing basically, but the cool thing about this stabilizer is it washes away in hot water or warm water. So I'm going to cut a piece that's big enough for my hoop. And you can see, here's my hoop. I'm using the 8-inch square on my Brother PRS 100 Persona. So this is the bottom of the hoop here. So I'm just going to lay this here, and I'm going to make sure I cut a piece that's big enough so I can hoop. Okay, so I've got that. And I'm going to set that into the hoop. I'm not hooping the blanket itself. So I'm going to put this on here like this. And then I'm going to set the top part of the hoop into the bottom part of the hoop. Okay, you can see I've got it nice and crisp. It should be like a drum. Okay, it should be nice and firm, no wrinkles, no looseness. Now, if you're new to just hooping your stabilizer, then you're going to want to maybe give your lower hoop a little bit of a tightening. One of my favorite tools that comes with the Brother PRS 100 is the screwdriver that's designed to tighten and loosen the hoop. And it looks like this. So basically I could come over to the screw on the hoop, and I could just give it a little bit of a turn. And in case you're not sure, you always righty-tighty, and then lefty-loosey. Okay, so if I needed to tighten this, I would just turn it to the right a little bit, and that would squeeze the two hoops together to really make your stabilizer firm. Okay, so I've got that all set. The next step is I am going to spray the stabilizer with some 505 temporary adhesive spray for fabric. So I'm just going to put it over here under my table. I'm just going to spray it just a little bit like this. Now that it's on, you can't see that it's on, but basically I'm going to use that to adhere the blanket into the hoop. So the next step is I'm going to bring my edge back, and what I'm going to do here is on the hoop itself you can see there are little guides on the sides and on the top and bottom that tell you where the middle of the top and bottom and sides are. So this right here is the top and bottom center of my hoop. I'm going to feel for that underneath the blanket, and I'm also going to lay the corner in so that this horizontal line I drew is lining right up with the base of, you know, the bottom edge of my hoop. And that will also help me make sure that what I'm putting in there is straight. So now this is straight right here. Oh, also we want to make sure we feel for that center mark. So my center mark is right there. So I'm going to put that right up against that. And then I'm just going to make sure my horizontal line I drew is running straight along the base of my hoop right here. Then I'm going to spread this up, and I'm going to feel for that guide, the center of the hoop right there. So I'm going to make sure when I hoop this, it's straight in that direction as well. So my center line is now touching both center marks on the hoop from underneath. I can feel it. So then I'm just going to smooth this out in either direction. Okay, so you can see that the blanket is now securely in the hoop because it's adhered to the washaway stabilizer that's hooped in the hoop. Okay, so this is almost ready. There's one more step, and if you have a machine, or let's say the Brother PRS 100 has a basting feature, I will tell you, when I first started working with my machine, I was getting a little bit frustrated with the basting feature because I'd get my design into position on the screen, and then I would hit the basting button, and the design would pop back to the center of the screen again. So if you want to use the basting feature with a design, put the basting feature, you know, push that button first, and then put your design into position. Now for this particular project, I know that the design is going to take up the entire hoop area, so I decided, because there's probably about a 1/4 inch between the outer edge of the design and where the Brother PRS 100 will put that basting. I didn't have room for that, so I basically digitized my own basting. So when I go to the machine and get the design set up, and I'm going to show you that, I'm going to baste in the hoop. And the reason why I want to baste in the hoop is because I'm going to put a piece of this topper over the surface of the fleece, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow the stitches to form properly before they start sinking into the nap of the fleece. So this is what's going to really help you get a nice crisp design, especially on the lettering, you know, in the smaller features. I also want to mention, now that I'm saying that, if you're going to be embroidering on something like fleece, pick designs that have bold edges. So little vines and little tendrils and little delicate features on embroideries will sink into the nap, even if you use a topper, and then you won't see them. So you'll see after I embroider this design, it's big and it's bold. So I have basically the last name of the player on top, the Eastern Connecticut logo in the middle, and then Warriors Volleyball underneath. All the fonts I chose were big and chunky and bold, so they'll show up on a fleece blanket. So I'm just going to cut a piece that's, you know, approximately just a little bit bigger than I need. Like this. Okay, so now you can see I'm ready to go to the machine. So I'm going to set up my machine, and I'm going to show you how to manage all of this fabric. all of this yardage of blanket so it doesn't get caught under the machine, and also supporting the weight of this fabric. I don't have the added table that you can add to the stand, so I'll show you what my workaround was for that. And then I'm going to show you how to baste in the hoop, and I'm going to show you how this stitches out on this washaway topper. And then if you're interested, this topper is Solvy from Sulky. So Sulky makes a really nice lightweight washaway topper. All right, so let me get my machine set up and we'll be right back. All right, so I want to start by showing you how to combine the design that I imported from my software with some built-in lettering on the machine, because the Brother PRS 100 has a number of very nice fonts that are beautiful and they stitch out really nicely, and one of them is an athletic font. So I'm going to go ahead and press the screen. I'm going to let my carriage get into position. I'm going to first go to my USB. I'm going to find my design and I'm going to set that into the hoop. So the next step is I want to rotate this so it's upside down, because the way I'm going to manage my blanket, the hoop is going to be positioned on the machine so that the design needs to be flipped. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees so it's upside down. Okay. Then I'm going to say okay, and I am going to add a name. So I'm going to press add. I'm going to click my letter button here. I'm going to go over here to number 12, which is my athletic letters. And I'm going to type in the last name Stern. So if I put the first letter, which is S, okay, then it's showing me I'm using the large letter, and that's what I want here. So I've got S, T, E, R, N. Okay, then I'm going to set that, and after it's set, I'm also going to rotate that 180 degrees, and I'm going to move it all the way down to the bottom of the hoop into position. So I've pushed it as far as I can. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to select the main design and I'm going to push that up as far as I can, just to give me a little bit more room here between Stern and the logo. All right, so now that I've got that ready, I'm going to press the embroider button. And now I'm ready to embroider. If you did not have a basting already on your design, this button right here, the flower with the little dashed line around it, that would add basting. Okay, I'm not going to press it because I already have basting, but just know that little floral icon right there, that would add basting to the outside of your design. All right, so now the next step is to add the hoop to the machine. So actually, before I put the hoop on, I'm going to put in a full bobbin because this design takes up an entire bobbin. So even though this has plenty of thread on it, I'm going to take this one off. And I'm using those magnetic core bobbins, which are really nice. I'm getting really good results with them. So I'm just going to take out this bobbin, and I'll save that for later when I need a little extra. When you put those magnetic bobbins into the bobbin case, you want to make sure the black magnet is against the base of the bobbin case. Then I'm just going to thread that in there properly, and I'm going to put that back. So I've got my bobbin in there. Once the bobbin's in, I always pull the thread just to make sure it doesn't pop back out at me, because that means I've installed it properly and it's in there correctly. So I'm going to just cut that and I'm going to shut the door. All right, and I have my first color also ready to go on the machine right here. Okay, so right, so you can see this is a lot of fabric. So I'm going to take most of the blanket I have laying to the left of the machine, and I'm just going to slide the hoop underneath the needle. Oh, in the upside down way. So here is the corner, that's the base of the design. That's actually going to be on top, because remember we flipped the design. Just get the hoop seated in there properly. All right, so now the next step is I want to make sure that none of this blanket is underneath the hoop. Okay, so I'm going to position it so that most of it is being supported by the side of my table there, because like I said, I don't have the added accessory of the table that you can put underneath the machine itself. And here's where that out of sight, out of mind comes into play. The back corner is tucked underneath the hoop right now. So I'm literally going to lift that up and lay it against the back of the machine. As you can see, this corner is up and it's against the back of the carriage there. So now there's no chance it's going to get caught in the embroidery underneath. So again, I'm just going to organize my fabric so it's nice and supported. There's nothing under the hoop itself. Okay, so the next thing I'm looking for is, you can see that the red dot, the pin drop where the needle is lining right up with that yellow guideline that I drew. So I know the design is going to be centered in the hoop. And if I check the back, I can see that my horizontal line is still laying parallel to the back or the bottom edge of the hoop here. So the next step is I'm going to get that Solvy topper and I'm going to lay it on top of the machine. I'm going to lay it over the surface of the fleece, and I'm going to unlock the machine and I'm going to press start. Now before I press start, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to sort of be petting this and making sure it lays flat as it bastes all the layers together. Now obviously you don't want to get your fingers near the needle, but I'm just helping smooth it from afar. Okay. Okay, so now it's moved into position for my second color. My basting is white, my first color is white. So I'm going to press start and I'm going to start embroidering. So while it's embroidering, I'm just going to let you watch the first couple of, the first few little bit so you can see how the stitches are forming nicely on this washaway topper. So I'm going to let that run, and then after the embroidery is finished, I will show you how it came out and I will show you how to remove all of this stabilizer. All right, I finished embroidering the design and you can see it here in front of me. It's all done. The next step is to remove the stabilizer. So I like to remove the clear topper before I take it out of the hoop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick at my basting stitches, and these come out really easily. Okay, they're really long stitches, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick at them. There are places where they're actually stitched over in this situation. So like across the top, the whole top of the letters here is covering that. So those will probably just stay where they are. But I'm going to just pick out the basting stitches. And as I pick it out, I can free the topper, you know, from the edges here. And again, remember, it's stuck here and here. And then I'm just going to gently pull it away. And I'm pulling it towards the edge of the embroidery here. Okay, so it really comes off fairly easily. Now, depending on how much you want to fuss with it, you could go in with a pair of tweezers or a stiletto and just sort of pick out the big chunks that are between the letters, like that. Okay, and the rest is really going to come out nicely in the wash. I'm not going to worry about picking out all of the stabilizer that's in between here and in these smaller letters, because the washaway stabilizer really does a nice job of rinsing out when you wash it. So the next step is, after I get the stabilizer off the top, I'm going to pop it out of the hoop and turn it over. All right, so this is what the back looks like. Okay, and you can see this you cannot tear. So while I can tear away the topper, I have to cut away the aqua mesh, and I like to fold it on itself and sort of skim my scissors along the edge, because you don't want to cut your garment or your blanket. So I'm just gonna trim, and sometimes I use my big scissors on the 45-degree like this, and it really, you know, that does a good job, or you can use the smaller ones. All right, so I'm going to use the ones that came with my machine, actually, because I can't find my other ones. But basically, I'm just going to go in and cut really close to the edge of the embroidery, like this. You know, and it's interesting to note that, remember, I sprayed the stabilizer to adhere the blanket into the hoop. And honestly, if I pet this fleece around the design, it doesn't feel sticky. So the 505 temporary adhesive spray really is a temporary adhesion. It doesn't stay sticky, you know, forever. This little knot there. I have a funny little thing. I'm just going to pick that out. I think that's the knot from the basting stitches. Just going to pick that out. All right, so I've got my stabilizer removed. Okay, and then if you have jump stitches or other threads, you know, you can tidy that up. And of course I can get in here and, you know, and I can use my seam ripper to start that. And reach in here. Okay. Okay. All right, so I've got the stabilizer removed from the outer edge of the design, front and back. The next step is to throw it in the wash. This is why I love this stabilizer, because it completely removes from the wrong side and the top side of the design, because when you're working on a blanket, you don't want a cutaway or a tearaway that you can see around the edges of your design, because you can see it front and back. So what I like to do with these is I remove as much of the stabilizer as I can, and then I put it in a warm water wash, and then I'll either soak it in there for about a half an hour and then finish the wash, or I'll do a soak cycle and then I'll just wash it after it soaks. Warm water does a really good job of getting rid of this washaway stabilizer. So here's another version, and I just want to show you how nice it is. You know, once all the stabilizer is removed, you can see that the nap kind of fills in between the edges of the design, and it looks really nice. And then the wrong side looks you know, I mean, it's the wrong side, but we have no stiff stabilizer or anything around the embroidery. So that's why I really love to use washaways when I'm doing things like a fleece throw or blanket. So that would be my complete tutorial on how to embroider a fleece throw or blanket. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below and I will help you. Going forward, I'm going to try to get a new video, embroidery video on Sundays. I had some scheduling and craziness going on, so I did have to skip a few weeks, but I'm really trying to rev up my embroidery because I love it. There are so many projects I have in my list. First and foremost, I have almost completely perfected my poppy embroidery, so I'll be finishing these, and I will be doing a tutorial to show how to combine designs to create big overall designs that are larger than the hoop size that you own. So I will be finishing the poppies, and they will be available probably sometime in November. And then I also have some other cool projects coming up as well. So I hope you're enjoying these Embroidery Sundays. And if there's a topic or a question you have regarding machine embroidery, please post those questions because I love doing Q&A with my subscribers. Most of my Fit Tip Tuesday videos have ended up being a subscriber question that I'm answering. So if you're new to embroidery or if you're trying something new and you need help, please post those questions in the comments because it may show up as a Embroidery Sunday video tutorial. So thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I will see you again soon.